from an undisclosed location in nowhere. It's Sweet Dreams A.M. live! Joining Oscar as always, Nicky Kane and his orchestra. And me, I'm that AI, Tinsley. And now, without further ado, Oscar!
Good morning, sweet dreamers. It is Oscar, and joining me is Tinsley, as usual. In today's episode, we shall be talking about No Time to Die and my thoughts on the movie. No Time to Die is the final installment for Daniel Craig's 007. I think his journey as James Bond has been amazing, but it is still sad for me to see his legacy come to an end. I think the movie was interesting, but did have some flaws. I think it was a movie that will be lent with more criticism, since it is the last film for this character. Well, with the actor. I will advise to you listeners that there will be certain things spoiled about the movie. I did leave out the major ending of the film, since that would certainly be too much, but the minor things will be spoiled. So if you don't want to know the ending, then I could say that you should be fine on listening this episode, as long as you don't want the ending to be spoiled. I think the way in which the film started was exceptional, from the frozen lake house to bullets flying. A defenseless girl taking down the intruder as a way to defend herself since her mother got blasted. The first scene is quite important, so try not to miss out on watching it, since it does serve a purpose for the whole film. The little girl tries dragging the body to the frozen lake, but the intruder wakes up, which makes the girl run. She cracks the thin ice, which results her in going down the icy cold water. If you did not know, it is quite dangerous when being under the water with ice, since finding the hole to get air is near impossible to find. The intruder watches, and just watches her drown, then all of a sudden starts shooting around her, and decides to save her. We are now in the present time, which has Madeline go up to the surface in the waves, which gives you a hint that little girl was her. I found it amazing just how the start was, since it felt nice to give some backstory on this character and give us an introduction to Rami Malek's villain. That's right, that intruder from the first scene is Rami Malek. They're in Italy, where Bond visits a grave from somebody he held close to, which is Vesper from Casino Royale, to then have it go boom boom. This ensues with the action scene where he is on the bridge, then jumps off the bridge with the cable like George from the Jungle style. Some more action happens with the classic James Bond car, and finally leaves her on a train, since he has to hunt the person that did the hit on him. 5 years pass, and I found it quite interesting that they did a time jump within the film, but I felt like it's reasonable because I did not have a problem with it. I don't recall a film for Bond doing a time skip like that, so it was a little strange for me, I'll be honest. It was strange just to see such a gap like that happen in the film. The bad guys get some scientist who knows how to operate a super secret biological weapon. You can't have a spy film without the stakes being the whole world in danger, or the baddies getting some super weapon. No Time to Die decides to double down on those two options. I think the biological weapon was quite funny, since it basically is a super killer nanobot in which only kills the intended target. I could basically code the device to target Tony Gambino and release the weapon in a maw, but the only ones killed would be Tony, since he was the target. Anybody that is related to Tony by blood will get killed if they touch the body, if that's what I understood from the film. Once the nanobots are inside of the person, they cannot get rid of it. Like, there's no device, there's no nothing that would take it out. So they could give me the nanobots, and if the intended target are my parents or uncles or anything like that, then I would not be able to get in contact with them, since they would get killed too, because I have the nanobots inside of me. I'm just giving a rough explanation of how the biological weapon is, since it is supposed to be very effective and really dangerous in the wrong hands. This is one of the major plot points of the film, like the biological weapon, so that's why I'm explaining it to you guys. It is revealed that James Bond has lost his title as 007 since he went off the grid for far too long of a time, to where they even thought he was dead. This is where the female character named Nomi comes into play. I'm sure you've seen her in the trailers. She is the new 00 agent, but is 007, since Bond does not have that title anymore, like I had mentioned. He no longer serves the great MI6, which brings Felix, who is a CIA agent and appears notably in Casino Royale and I think Quantum of Solace. Felix offers Bond to help on finding the scientist, and since he isn't part of the royal service, he goes to Cuba to help the CIA. I like the idea of Bond helping the CIA for his own convenience, while the new 007 is also going to Cuba, but under the title of MI6, for the Royal Queen. Cuba is where we get introduced to Ana de Armas, and she does a trainee whose first job is with Bond, so she's obviously nervous and jittery. I found a little similar to the role of Knives Out, which is my only critique for her acting, since she only appears for the Cuba segment of the film. Bond is attending a party full of Spectra members, and Blofeld is surprisingly there at the party, but through a bionic eye, since he is in max security prison. Blofeld obviously spots Bond and releases the biological weapon on him so he could die. Before this happens though, there was a scene where the scientist secretly switches a USB when preparing the vial, which is a biological weapon, to be released. When changing it, the targets are now the Spectra members instead of Bond. Blofeld then tells Bond, "It appears you are in a pickle, James. What will the great Bond do surrounded by Spectra members, no less? No escape for your inevitable death, Bond. Release the agent. Do you feel your skin crawling, reacting to the poison which will take your life? It was nice knowing you as my brother, James." But since Blofeld does not know that the scientist changed up the target, all the members that are Spectra start to die in a horrible way due to the spray, which is once again the biological weapon. Blofeld does not die since he was there with his bionic eye like it was a Zoom meeting. Naomi takes the scientist, then Bond starts to chase her since the CIA also wants to take hold of the scientist. Then midway, there's a musical segment with the scientist. "Hey, I'm just a scientist that made this, but I'm an innocent soul, I swear." The MI6 wants me in custody, and so does the CIA, but I am an innocent soul. I just made this weapon. Please don't turn me in, Mr. Bond. I saved your life because I am a good guy just following instructions. Can you not see I am just an innocent soul that was following directives to make this? Rami Malek is telling me what to do and he is to blame, not me. So let me go and enjoy my life because I am innocent. Please don't turn me in, I've got so much to live in this film, Mr. Bond. Let me go out of Cuba free. I will make these weapons for you if you want, but please, I want to go see the Mets live. I'm all about the Mets, baby. Let's go the Mets. Okay. Obviously, there was not a musical segment, but nice music to accompany my singing, Nicky King. Good job. Bond, with the help of Ana de Armas, ends up getting the scientist and swiping him away from the hands of Naomi. They go to a small ship where Felix, Bond, the scientist, and a new dude who is also in the CIA apparently. James Bond starts asking the scientist questions regarding the biological weapon that was used. Through the series of questions asked, that new guy was actually a traitor, so he shoots Felix and starts a fight with Bond. Bond ends up losing the fight, so the new guy gets the scientist in a plane and leaves. The planted explosives go off and the ship starts to sink, which has the two of them attempting a way to escape the sinking ship. One of them is not able to get off the ship since it got shot by the new guy. So you can imagine who was the one that survived. He is pissed that his only friend that was like a brother to him was killed. Bond now is doing this for Felix and to find out who is behind the killing of all Spectra. Bond goes back to the MI6 building where he delivers the classic Bond, James Bond, which was so satisfying to hear. He goes to see M, which is revealed that M knew about the biological weapon since he basically allowed the creation of it, but it was under the water. He is now working for the MI6, but not under 007 since that number belongs to Naomi. This is happening, then there's the other side of the coin where Madeline walks into her psychology office in which Rami Malek is there. As she walks in, he gently puts a strand of hair into a piece of cloth which he folds and puts away. This is important, which is why I'm mentioning it. Rami Malek starts to talk and it seemed like he got hit in the throat with a chair all the time because he's like, "Why don't you sit down?" It is revealed that Rami Malek was the masked figure from the beginning who killed the mother of Madeline and traumatized her at a young age. Yet that same very person saved her from drowning. He believes that she basically owns her, in a sense, since he saved her life from death. He asks her a favor since she's the only person that can visit Blofeld, so since he is a Spectra member or leader, he's the only one left alive that Rami Malek has to kill to avenge his family. The reason is that one of the Spectra members killed his whole family, who happens to be the father of Madeline, with some sort of poison. But it did not kill Rami Malek, but left him disfigured on the skin. He asks her to use the poison which can only kill Blofeld, so she will visit him in the high security prison to kill him, basically. Bond knows that Blofeld needs to have some sort of information regarding Rami Malek and how he was attending the gala in Cuba, even if it was just through the eyes, since he is in a high security prison. While he gets permission to come in contact with Blofeld, guess who is also there? Madeline, since she is there to kill him by orders of Rami Malek. So they meet up after their last encounter had Bond sending her off to never see each other again, since there was a distrust between them. There is an emotional moment between them, but it is tense now, which is important to note that the poison is on her wrists. Some talk happens, then as she leaves, since she feels too guilty to actually commit the crime, Bond grabs her by the wrist, which means now his hands have the poison meant to kill Blofeld. He doesn't know this, of course. Some conversation happens between them, which has Bond make contact with Blofeld, which ends up killing him. Blofeld did mention that Madeline is the one that knows the secret, since it was the person that saved her life and recently met up with again. So Blofeld is like, it's her, she knows everything. And Bond's like, no way, bro, I ain't believing you. And Blofeld just fucking dies. Bond ends up at the same lake house from the first scene, since that's where Madeline went after she couldn't do the assassination of Blofeld. There is about to be some intimacy between them before somebody interrupts them, which is a small girl upstairs. Bond is worried that the girl might be his, but she assures him it isn't his. Especially, he believes that because of the same bright blue eyes that the girl and Bond share. Some action happens, which was really cool by the way, but the focus is that Rami Malek kidnaps her and takes her to his island. I think the scene in the woods with the fog was really great and just shows how badass, while being suave, James Bond is. Bond then chases them as Malek and Madeline just leave with a helicopter. Q does appear again, and I was happy to see him in the film along with Moneypenny, as they do their spy stuff to get the location of Rami Malek. Turns out Rami Malek was in an island between the borders of Russia and Asia, if I'm correct. It is some island that can be found or something like that. But it really makes no sense, but hey, it's just a movie. Although, how would Russia nor Asia not know about an island that has a fucking bunker and missile silos? Like, come the fuck on, lads. These two are hungry for anything that's concerned with bunkers or missiles. Some action happens with Naomi and Bond as they enter the island, and Bond ends up killing Malek towards the end in a nice, satisfying way. I won't be getting into the ending of the film, but the action is just amazing, to be honest. The action was just amazing, to be honest with you guys. The ending, I think, is fitting for the end of Daniel Craig's run as Bond. I think it was, for me, it was satisfactory how they managed it. Cannot stress enough just how fucking amazing the action was. I think most people felt relieved when the first John Wick came out, since the action was just so refreshing and new. The action and fun shooting were just great in the first John Wick. No, I'm just pointing out the first of the 3 John Wicks, not that there's anything wrong with them. The action, especially towards the end where Bond is on the island, was just so refreshing and felt like real Bond stuff in my opinion. Practical ways of doing things, but felt like what a real spy would do. There's a scene where he shoots a dude down the hall, which is circular, so what it basically does is it resembles the famous gun barrel sequence, which had all of the audience go, ooh, noticing it. I think one of the most notable flaws for me in this movie was the villain. I think the screen time that Rami Malek gets, he is superb in, but I think it falls down to the writing or simply getting some more time in the film. In the first scene he comes out in, which is the first scene, which happens to be, where Rami Malek first comes out, he dishes out an excellent performance. It made my knees shake, since he actually frightened me, like the time I hit a man in the middle of a night with my car just to hide the body. But I think the weakest aspect of this film is the villain. But at the same time, I think the villain was just sufficient enough for the film to work. I would simply love more of him, and the voice in which Malek does just sounds amazing. Really, it does. Even with the joke I made about the chairs and the throat and shit like that. I thought Nomi, who was the new 07, was just spectacular. I will be honest. I was hoping she wouldn't be some female character where she is good at everything just because the writers were lazy to make a good female character. I think she had that suave and wittiness to make a 007 agent. She definitely did good in the action scenes she was in, and the chemistry between her and Bond was just great. Nomi was a character in which I was not expecting too much from, and coming out of the theaters disliking. But wow, was I wrong. The character was amazing in my opinion, and glad that they made her a good character. The other roles consist of Moneypenny, Felix, M, Blofeld, the consistent bodyguard with the wonky eye and other arms, and the others did an amazing job to complement the movie with their performances. Each of their performances only enhanced the movie and helped it elevate itself further within the audience. I would recommend to watch this movie in the theater since it felt more deep, watching the ending of this saga for Craig. Of course, if you can't, then I hope you enjoy the movie, since I thought it was good and a fit ending for the Daniel Craig as 007. Now that you know my thoughts for the film, it basically sums to it being a pretty good film. I think this final installment of this long journey is just fitting. I enjoyed watching this and cannot wait to actually buy it on Blu-ray to just watch it again and enjoy it. Nicky Kane, roll the music. I hope you enjoyed this episode and my opinions regarding this film, while I tried my best to explain most of the scenes of the film. I hope you listeners are in the best of health and continue having a good time in the real world. I hope you catch us for the next episode. Bye bye.